Welcome back. President Cyril Ramaphosa says the controversial R1 billion Tottenham Hotspur deal is not justified. Now, this follows a public outcry after news of the deal emerged this week. 3 board members have since resigned with immediate effect. Well, let's speak now to the CEO of the Southern African Tourism Services Association, David Frost, who joins us on Zoom. A very good morning to you, David. Thank you so much for your time. Let's just right off the bat start off with just your reaction, firstly, to the deal itself, the public outcry, which I would imagine you've heard, and the president's statement saying that it's just not justified.
Yeah, good morning. Good to be with you. Look, from the outset, when we heard about this deal as it broke, I think it was Daily Maverick who broke the initial story, we were totally blindsided by it. And when you start looking at it, both at face value and also in a deeper interrogation, it just makes absolutely no sense from a tourism marketing point of view to throw all this money into one initiative. So we were opposed to it, and we've just held that line. This is not in the best interests of tourism in the country. It's our view that we need to work together, both as the public and private sector. We also contribute an inordinate amount of money to tourism marketing, probably 20 times what SA Tourism's budget is when you add up all the private sector spend. And then we also raise a TOMSA levy, and we contribute over 100 million rand to SAT. And what we need to do is to use this opportunity as a total reset. We need a clean out at the top of SAT. We need, I would argue, a new board that is predominantly comprised of people who have some knowledge of marketing and tourism, because this is the type of stuff that we need to oversee. And when you have a look at what has happened from the board point of view, I think it's actually been a farce. And credit to the 3 people, the 3 members who actually resigned, because they stood up to this deal. And they said this deal is not in the best interests, and they were in the minority, and they were shouted down. So they did the only honourable and correct thing, and they resigned. So I think what we do, as I say, what we need going forward is let's use this opportunity to reset how SA tourism is structured. Let's make it a proper structured engagement with the private sector. We will bring our best brains together with the best public sector minds, and we can really give tourism a major boost in this country. And finally, just credit to the president for actually doing the right thing and calling this out and saying we're not going to go ahead with these sort of ridiculous initiatives. But the damage and the just the sort of lack of momentum this gives us is once again it's just thoroughly underwhelming.
David, you are saying, and you're giving kudos to the 3 members who resigned with immediate effect. Of course, one of them actually coming out and saying that they're doing so for moral reasons. But then the Tourism Ministry has come out through the spokesperson, Steve Mutale, saying that, in fact, no, these 3 members were actually under investigation for improper conduct. So now you've got one story where it's these 3 people saying that we tried to challenge this particular situation, and then it's another story, the whole ministry saying that, no, but they actually were not squeaky clean themselves. So which story then do we listen to?
Well, I'm not privy to any of those sort of interactions. I don't know whether those 3 board members received anything. It was instructive that reports are coming out that once this is the board without these 3 people met yesterday with the minister, and now they're claiming that they've been misled, and it's all the CFO and the CEO and the acting CEO. So quite frankly, it's a shambles. But I do know the 3 board members. They're private sector industry leaders. They've been people with an impeccable track record. They're people who go into a board like that to actually contribute to the betterment of tourism. And I am totally supportive of their position of saying we opposed this, we were not listened to, and it was of such a nature and the gravitas and the amount that we're talking about that and they did this, the 3 of them, they actually said we cannot be party to any more of this nonsense, and we will resign. So, as I said, I'm not privy to letters that have been whatever, but, I think there's more that's going to come out on the story. And I don't think it reflects well on the ministry. I don't think it reflects well on the board. And it certainly doesn't reflect well on how SA tourism is run.
Now, some of the outcry that has come out has actually been a little balanced. So there are those that are saying, listen, for the purposes of getting South Africa out into the world and showing that we are a tourist destination, it's not a bad idea. The bad idea is how much you're spending of the taxpayers' money to put on a sleeve of a team that is sitting in England. Now, SASCOC has even come out, since we're looking at it from a sporting point of view, SASCOC has come out and said, why don't you just then use South African sports federations and sports bodies and sports teams as that vehicle to sell South Africa out into the world. So now my question becomes, had that 1 billion rand been put on the sleeves of, let's say, the national teams, or maybe even some of our big football clubs, some of our cricket clubs, would that have maybe been easier to swallow, maybe been easier to take?
Look, I think you ask a really seminal question, but I think people are getting this fundamentally wrong. And what they're doing is they're looking at it first and foremost from a sporting point of view. That's not the point here. The point is we're going to spend money, and the end game is we want more leisure tourists to arrive in the country, because that's where we get the return on investment. And sponsoring a team like this and putting your logo, and bearing in mind, I think it's only in the second year that we get the logo onto the match day thing. In the first year, it's only on training kits. All it does is that it's an awareness creator, but that does not translate into actual conversion and into bookings. What does do so when you're talking about a long-haul destination, the drivers that drive conversion are affordability, accessibility, and very critically, what does the country offer itself? And there are far more innovative ways of using a budget of this ilk to drive tourism growth. And what we have never had in this country before is we've never tapped into the expertise and the incredible rich experience that the private sector has in this respect. So if we could put our heads together and come up with campaigns that we jointly support, and bear in mind, we have skin in the game as well. There would be added support and bolstered investment from a private sector marketing point of view behind that. And that's how you start ratcheting up into double-digit growth quite quickly.
Well, David, it is going to continue to be a conversation. As you did mention a little earlier on, there's probably quite a lot more that's about to come out from the story. So people just need to, hold on to their seats, because it might be a rocky one. Hopefully not. But thank you so much for joining us here on Newslink this morning. That is the Chief Executive Officer of Southern Africa Tourism Services Association, David Frost.